Hello everyone and welcome to the Kickabout. Ronaldo is back in the theatre of dreams and Arsenal's nightmares continue. I'm your host Chris.
I'm Fran.
And I'm Dan.
Welcome to episode number 51, everybody. Welcome. So, Dan, how are we feeling? Ronaldo, he's back.
Yeah.
I don't think he's recovered. That's why he's got his husky little voice still.
Yeah, he's been too busy cheering all weekend.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you could have seen his face on Friday,
I went from an all-time low thinking he was joining City to an all-time high of him suddenly coming back to
his eyes were lit up.
It was all very
Not
weird,
from the
wasn't it?
alcohol either.
Right, well, as always, we will start with this. Dan the stat man.
I nearly read the answer out then. Only one other team are on a longer unbeaten run in league matches within England's top four tiers than Liverpool, who extended their run without a defeat to 13 matches. Can you tell me who the other team are?
It's going to be like... It's got to be someone from the lower leagues, otherwise you wouldn't have made that comment about all four leagues, so...
What if I helped you out and said it's within the top two?
That'd be very generous of you, Dan. Okay, all right, well, we'll spend 20 minutes going through all the teams at the end. So we had a complaint last week, didn't we, from Mr. Pete.
From Pete, yeah.
He was very upset that we didn't shout him out.
He did tell me not to make a thing about it, so...
Oh, did he?
I'm sorry, Pete, but
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a shout out because you were top of the league last week.
He was
Until West Ham played.
Until West Ham played Leicester. But no, I mean, he is doing very well. The Fantasy League is very, very close. There are 14 points separating the top 5 in the league. So, Dan, top of the pile.
Back on the throne.
Yeah. Egg fried roos.
Bruce.
Roos? Yeah, it's Roos. Pete is in second. We've got Gary Watson in third. I am currently in fourth. And Bikash Best. I'm going to use his team name because I have no idea how to say that name. It's in a different language on my screen, so I've got no idea. Is in fifth place. Pete, if you're listening, or you will be listening, see if you can do something about the fact that your team name shows twice.
Yeah, it's a bit annoying.
It's really frustrating because I have to look at it and go, right, are you actually third or are you fourth or what? But anyway, cool. Well, yeah, thank you for everyone for joining that. We've got loads of teams in there. Look, we are 50. We've even gone to a second page. 57 people in there. I suspect that the person at the bottom there is not really paying much attention because he's only got 73 points.
Nick, you're not doing very well either.
Nick Evans, that's poor from you. Cracked 100.
Nick didn't realise you could use the wild card and made 11 changes.
And
So
what,
he
and got
took
rid of all his points?
Like a 100 odd point hit.
Oh, what a guy. Right, okay, that's our Fantasy League update for the week. Right, well, let's dive straight in then to the Wolves v Manchester United match. Now, it's really the only place to start. We're probably not actually going to talk about the game itself very much because I don't think it was the most exciting game in the world. But of course, there was a rather small story that escalated on Friday. So for those of you that have been living under a rock for the last few days, Cristiano Ronaldo cleared his locker out at Juventus. You know, everything seemed to happen very, very quickly. It seemed like that Man City were there and ready. He was ready to go to Man City. Everything was fine. And then out of the blue, it stopped and he's at United. So, yeah, talk us through your thoughts and emotions as that day went out.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was at a festival all day as well, so I'd had a couple of drinks. I was gutted when I saw that he was pretty much going to City, and he's he's like my favourite player, and that would have absolutely crushed me if it had gone to like, I don't know if I can say our biggest rivals. I think Liverpool are our biggest rivals because City have only been around for the last 10 years. But yeah,
Nice little dig there at City like that there.
when he suddenly sort of switched and it turned out he was going to... It's weird though because we spent over a year trying to get Sancho, we spent however long trying to get Varane, and then we got Ronaldo in about an hour.
Yeah, it doesn't. If you think of the calibre of play you just bought, given how quick that's happened compared to Sancho, which took the thick end of 18 months, it's quite crazy, isn't it?
Is it purely because City just said no, so he come United?
Well, this is the thing, because there are rumours going around that his agent Mendes just used this as a bit of a wake-up call for Man United.
Yeah.
You know, are you serious? Because he's going to go to City when he actually wasn't.
Well, apparently he was offered to United, and United, like earlier in the window, and United weren't interested.
Right.
And then, God, my voice. And then City obviously found out that they just couldn't get Harry Kane, so they started sniffing around and sort of asking if Ronaldo's available. And then I think the agent sort of started putting out to other clubs and obviously United as well. And I think when social media started clicking on to that he was potentially going to City, I think the Glazers would have had an outroar if they hadn't have tried to get him.
Again, more rumours. I think it's been confirmed that apparently Patrice Evra, Rio Ferdinand and Alex Ferguson all picked up the phone and spoke to Ronaldo and basically put him straight and said, you are not joining Man City, you are coming back to Man United.
Yeah, I did see that Fergie had apparently rung him and Fergie's like his sort of father figure.
Do you think he just said, like, we'll send the boys round? Like, we will literally break both of your legs if you go and play for Man City.
Could you imagine? I mean... Oh.
It would have been very... I mean, given... It's been a long time, right? It's been... I don't know how many years it's been since he...
2009?
So we're talking 10, 11 years. It would have been very odd still to see him in that City shirt. Part of me does feel like at the age of 36, whoever got him is not getting the same Ronaldo that you had all those years ago. I think that's
he's not
plainly obvious.
He's no longer the sort of trickster and,
scoring
pacey.
Well, he hasn't scored a free kick for God knows how long.
No, he's not like a pacey winger anymore. He's a bit of a hitman up front. But, he could out-jump Van Dijk. He's scoring headers over Van Dijk and he's a more physical player now than he was back then. I think in City's team he would have been unbelievable, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how he'll be with Fred behind him, but
very frustrated most of the time, I suspect. We obviously usually do the viewer comments halfway through the show, but we obviously put a comment out to everyone asking everyone, do they think that he can still do a job at 36? We had a couple of comments back. Fran, what have people been saying?
I mean, the general consensus was yes.
Okay.
A few people were asking how we could even question it. In fact, I saw Pete in person, and he was like, "How could you even question?"
I don't. Maybe we should have worded it slightly different. I think that it's not whether he can still do it, i.e., can he still score goals. I think there's the other aspects that we'll come on to in a minute that maybe have some question marks around them. I'm keen to hear what Dan thinks about some of these points I've made as well.
Pete said this man will single-handedly send Van Dijk back to Southampton.
Okay.
Right, and then Joe. Yes, great signing for them, but still no chance anyone is winning the league but Chelsea.
Okay.
So we're just going to hit on the Chelsea game here. Thanks, Joe. 10 versus 12 on Sunday, and those Scousers still couldn't beat us. Little star for you, Chelsea made 4 fouls against Liverpool and got 3 bookings. Fabinho on his own committed 4 fouls and didn't even get booked. And that was never a red card. But anyway, back to the Ronaldo point. I think if they had a decent manager, they really could challenge City for second place. So, kind of answered the question, but kind of
took his moment in the sun to let us know.
Also,
about
they
his
could
feelings
really
about Chelsea.
challenge City for second place. I enjoyed immensely, presuming that Chelsea will be first place.
We've got to love Joe. 36 years old, no question about his fitness, because I don't think you can really think of Ronaldo as a stereotypical 36-year-old footballer because he's got the physical abilities of probably a 29 or 30-year-old, if not even younger. One of the biggest question marks in my mind is, are Man United fans expecting too much? Are they going to expect the Ronaldo of 2008, 2009?
I don't think so. I mean, we had Zlatan come in his sort of latter stages.
But you never had him originally, though.
No.
So what I mean is that the expectations...
The problem is, I think because that was so long ago, I think you'd be daft to expect Ronaldo to come in and score 30 goals. Not that he did that before, but you'd be daft to think that you were getting the 18-year-old Ronaldo back.
Yeah.
Same as like when we did get like Zlatan, we weren't under the impression that we were getting the 25-year-old Zlatan. We knew we were getting the 34-year-old Zlatan.
Yeah.
And he came in, I was happy because he was this big sort of superstar, and he did actually do really well. He wasn't there very long, but in the time he was there, he did very well.
Scored a lot of goals.
Same with Cavani. I really doubted Cavani last season, and when he was fit, he was scoring goals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now, you look at Zlatan, you look at Cavani, both are sort of what you'd say world-class strikers, and now you bring in Ronaldo. I mean, what can you say about Ronaldo that hasn't already been said?
No, absolutely. I mean, there's a few other points I want to touch on as well. So, do you feel like, given the squad you've already got, given the signings you've made with Sancho, do you feel like there is a risk here of having to change the team's system? Is there a risk of upsetting the sort of cohesion in the squad? Because, like Solskjaer or not, he's obviously got a way of playing, and he's got you to, he has gradually brought you forward. You're now competing on both European level and in domestic level. You're not quite there, obviously, but you're getting closer all the time. And now you've brought in a superstar who is known for being a little selfish at times. Is there a chance that he upsets the apple cart a bit here?
Yeah, 100%.
How much has he been? Is he cost?
What, as in actual transfer fee?
Yeah.
12.8 million with just under 10 million in add-ons.
Yeah.
I think there's a Ballon d'Or clause and everything like that. So
yeah. So when you put it like that, it seems cheap for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
You have to take into account his age, but he is on almost 500,000 a week.
Yeah.
So that obviously the wage often dictates the value of a player, not always the transfer fee, because there's a lot of other things going on with that. So yeah, where do you see him fitting into this United side?
Who comes out for him to be in?
Cavani, he'll be striker.
But at the moment, Cavani's not starting though.
No, exactly. But we've been flicking around. We started the Wolves game with Greenwood up front. Yeah. Although all his goals have been when he's been right wing. Every time he's been pushed back out to right wing, he's scored a goal. And then Martial played up front against Southampton, and he was poor as usual. I think he'll be striker. I don't know what he's going to do with Pogba. Pogba, first 2 games, played really well left wing, and then he put him centre mid with Fred, and he was trash. But I don't know if that's just because Fred is absolutely shocking, or if it is because Pogba for United plays better a bit further up. He's gonna struggle to fit all these players. We just signed Sancho. I don't think it's a signing that Solskjaer wanted to make. I think it's a signing we've sort of been forced into.
It's almost like you had to make.
Did you need him?
No. I don't think you did.
No, not yet. I think we needed a striker next year, which Haaland would have been perfect. I think this year, if we'd have got a CDM, a decent one, and then next year gone for a striker, I think we'd have had a complete team.
Yeah, I agree.
But
this feels really ill-timed to me.
Yeah.
Because it's so late in the window, the season's already running. It felt like a bit of a fairy tale signing, almost like a gift from the Glazers. Yeah. Look at us, we think of the fans because we're giving you Ronaldo back.
All the Super League stuff, I think they've gone all out with these. We signed Sancho, Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo just after the Super League, all in one window.
Yeah.
It's and after all the whole, the kicking off, getting the Liverpool game abandoned and stuff like that, and fans wanting a stake in the club and stuff like that, and that's all gone very quiet now.
And he's still boring as fuck to watch.
Who?
United.
Oh, well, that's because of Solskjaer. If we had a different manager, I think we would definitely.
That's the issue,
fighting.
the manager.
It's like what Joe said. I agree with him 100%. Solskjaer's never going to win anything. He could have Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe. We wouldn't win the Tin Pot Cup.
But the thing is, you are now at a point with the squad that you've got, you're now at the point where Solskjaer has no excuses left.
No, and
you're no longer in the building phase. You would argue you've built the team now. You've got to where you wanted. You've got cover in every position. You've got quality in every position.
The only problem is that CDM role. If we had a 28-year-old Matic, it would be perfect. But he can't last longer than sort of 60 minutes now. And Fred, I don't know if you watched the United Wolves game, but
I saw bits of it.
I have no idea how he's a Premier League footballer. I have no idea how he's a Brazilian because he's woeful, absolutely woeful. And even McTominay, I don't think McTominay's a CDM. He likes to get forward, and we need a Kante or a Jorginho, someone that's happy to sit in that role, can get stuck in. And I just really don't understand why Solskjaer's not seen that Fred and McTominay aren't up to that role.
I just feel like this signing, as much as it's it's great fanfare, it's from a commercial point of view, it probably makes sense with the money that's going to generate the sponsorship.
That's the biggest thing, is the commercial side of it.
But I just think if you'd have spent that money, so let's call it 20 million with the add-ons, let's call it that. 450k a week. If you reduce that wage to say 150k a week, and you take whatever's the 250, 350, whatever it is, across the entire year, that's probably another 20 odd million. You put that together and get 45 million and 150k of wages. That's Basuma. Potentially, you might even be able to squeeze in Didi. You probably have to pay a bit more than 40 million. You probably have to pay near 60, but you know, and that does solve your problem because, as you say, you did not need this player.
No, and I mean, I was wrong when you asked me who was number 7. It's actually Cavani who's number 7.
It is Cavani, okay.
So I've heard rumours that Ronaldo's not going to be number 7, but I don't know how you can have CR7 and not.
His entire brand is around.
He's literally number 7, so I don't know what they're going to do about that because I could see
Cavani sitting there and going, "Yeah, you pay me for it."
Yeah, he's come in and taken Cavani's position, and now they're asking him to take his number as well. I could see him being quite stubborn about it.
Cavani will join Phil Jones 17? In the whole.
It's not the same thing.
77, have 2 of them.
And then you've got penalties. You know, Bruno's our penalty taker.
Yeah, we've got, Pinaldo and Penandes now, haven't we, on the penalties? Like pen pals now, aren't they?
Someone like Ronaldo, he's not going to be happy letting Bruno take the penalties, is he?
No, did I sent you the the impressionist Conor Moore, where he's taking the piss, saying we'll come to an arrangement. I'll take the penalties, you win them, and that's the arrangement. So there's been a few other people in the media as well. Gary Neville and Paul Merson have also aired their concerns about his work rate as well, which is another concern that I had because he's always been a player, certainly in the last 5 years, you carry him a bit. But in teams with the greatest respect to the Serie A and La Liga and the teams that he was playing in, it was so easy to carry Ronaldo because the other teams they were playing against, for the most part, were never really that great, and the players he had around him were always more than capable of picking up his slack, sort of thing. But in a competitive league like the Premier League, where you've got potentially 4 teams who have all got a real genuine shot of winning the league, I don't know whether you can afford to have a passenger like Ronaldo who is never going to track back, who's never going to put in the hard yards. And when with the greatest respect, again, going back to your point, when you've got Fred, McTominay and Pogba, who clearly is not at his best when he plays in that position, you're going to... This could be, again, this is another recipe for things that could go wrong.
Was he like that before?
What?
Like, lazy?
Well, he played on the wing before, so he was a bit more sort of up and down.
But has he always been a bit lazy?
I can't really remember back in the day at United what he was like, to be honest. I
really watched him that much at Real Madrid.
I watched him in the Classicos, but the Classicos were so end-to-end that it was often didn't matter if it was a passenger.
So what makes him the best player?
Just
the he can
relentless goal scoring.
Because he can get a ball in the net.
because he can turn, a game on its head and win you those big games. He can win you cup finals, he can win you league titles.
But he's also a bit of an arse. I don't feel like I'm going to get on with him.
Yeah, but he's the alpha male of his sport.
Yeah.
He is the, you can do the whole Messi Ronaldo, but he's the top man of his game.
Yeah, and he's done it in multiple leagues, won multiple trophies in different countries.
Won World Cups, Euros, well, not World Cups, Euros.
I guess the ultimate question before I go on to a point that I saw on the net is, do you think that Ronaldo coming in improves your chances of winning the league, or do you not think it makes any difference?
I don't think we've got a chance in hell, but it improves it 100%.
Really? You don't see any situation where you don't get really close and take it down to the wire?
Not with Solskjaer. Oh. We struggled against Southampton. We struggled against Wolves. How we beat Wolves, I felt so sorry for them. You've got De Gea
to thank for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's lucky they've got Adama Traore, who couldn't hit a barn door if it was right in front of him. Because they should have smashed us. We didn't. I think we had 1 shot on target, maybe 2 because of Greenwood.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I mean, the proof. We'll probably learn fairly quickly what Solskjaer plans, because if this wasn't Solskjaer signing, he's now going to sit there and go, holy shit. Because he's already said in an interview, right? He said that Ronaldo's not come here to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Which means that he knows he's going to have to play him.
It's not his signing. The last few interviews he's done, they've said, Ronaldo's available. And he keeps saying, well, he knows we're here.
Yeah, but he's a yes man, isn't he, for United?
He is, yeah.
And what manager, in fairness to Solskjaer, what manager is going to say no to Ronaldo if he's available?
But even, the good thing about
David Moyes said he'd fancy him.
Yeah. The good thing about Ronaldo is he's going to help our youngsters. He's going to help Mason Greenwood to no end.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see Mason Greenwood play right wing, Rashford or Sancho left wing, and then Ronaldo up top. And then you've got Bruno just behind that. What attacking for that is.
Where's Sancho and all that?
I said Bruno, Rashford or Sancho.
Oh, okay.
You'd have to sort of rotate those two. And Greenwood can rotate with Sancho as well.
Mm-hmm.
Martial, I'd get rid of. Lingard can go to West Ham, but he's not going to.
It doesn't sound like he's going. Every day it seems to change.
I don't get it.
We can talk about that later. Dan James can get in the bin, but I'll talk about that later.
I was going to say I saw a rumour about that today as well.
I've got that in my thing. But we've got so many attacking players now, we need to get rid of some. But yeah, that would be my sort of front four, rotating that around. If we just need that CDM, because our problem is not sort of scoring and it's not defending, it's creating chances, because we've not got that like core in the middle. It goes straight from A to C. There's no B.
Yeah.
And Pogba, he's not a very disciplined player.
Which is why he excelled at left wing.
He roams around all the place. So him without that sort of disciplined player next to him just doesn't work.
Which is why he gets on so well at France, because he's got Kante.
Because you've got Kante, you've got who else plays in the middle with him?
Oh, I know you're asking. I can't remember, but I know what you mean. If he's got a good player, like he had Matuidi at Juventus.
He's got world-class sort of players around him that will do the job that he doesn't do. Whereas we just haven't got that. But I don't think we're not going to fight for the title. We haven't got a hope in hell. We needed to win our first 3 games. I know we've won 2, but barely. And that game against Southampton just sort of made me see all the holes in our team. And I do think Solskjaer is the luckiest guy in football. But I'm even questioning myself. I'm like, is he, or is he just actually really good?
You
Just
can't work
so
it out.
underrated. I'm like, I don't know how someone could be so lucky to get away with these games.
I think Solskjaer does have good elements to him. I think he's a good man manager. He's handled the whole Pogba situation pretty well over the last couple of years, with the constant speculation about his future. You very rarely ever hear about people who are unhappy at United player-wise.
I think everyone loves him as a guy.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. He's more of like
from a tactical point of view, I'm not sure.
He's like the friendly uncle.
Yeah, and I think sometimes he does need to do the hairdryer treatment and stuff like that. Because sometimes, like I see it,
We'll have
a poor first half and we'll have a poor first half and we'll come out and just be playing exactly the same way.
Yeah. So just to finalise on this point then, so just to highlight some of the sort of, the positives about Ronaldo. I know we've talked mostly about the negative side, but the positives about Ronaldo are going to be plain to see. Everybody knows what he's about. We don't necessarily need to go into too much detail about what Ronaldo's going to bring.
Surely he'll bring United loads of money as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
tons.
100%.
And fans are going to nowadays you have not just United fans, but you have like Ronaldo fans, you have Messi fans.
Yeah.
They could have been Juventus fans last season, Real Madrid fans before that.
I mean, you go on West Ham's Facebook page, you'll see so many Algerians on there just because of Benrahma. So
you have fans just following players around, so that will bring a lot more money and people buying United shirts and stuff.
You know when Benrahma's not played on the bench, because you go onto the starting lineup post. If Benrahma's on the bench, you see loads of angry emojis, so you know that he's on the bench.
I bet they're happy at the moment.
Yeah, they're loving life. They're trying to tell us we were all wrong all along at the moment.
But I think I'd like to say as well, just having a player like Ronaldo back in the Premier League,
it's a buzz, isn't it?
Yeah, I think not a United point of view, but if I was just a neutral fan, I'd just love to see him playing again week in, week out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's the same if someone like Messi came to the league, or even Haaland or Mbappe. He's the sort of player that even if you're a mid-table team or a lower team, you'd quite happily go and see your team get stuffed 5-0 if you got to see that player play live.
Yeah, sure.
It's almost like a bucket list, isn't it? Go to Barcelona at the Nou Camp and watch Messi play. It's one of those sort of bucket list things. So anyway, just to finalise, so there was a post I saw on a website, I think it was insider.com, about Ronaldo, and he's not the only one to have written something like this. Basically saying that Juventus got worse as a team after Ronaldo joined. Now bear with me while I go through this. So he's been banging in goals, as we know, for Juventus over the last couple of years. But if you look at the stats of the other players in the squad, it's gradually getting worse and worse. So in his first season, Ronaldo scored, he was top scorer, he got 28 goals, while no other player scored more than 10, and only 4 players scored 5 or more. In his second season, Ronaldo again topped the charts with 37 goals this time, which, incredible stats. Dybala hit 17, Higuain got just 11. But no other player managed to score 5 or more. And then last season, or the season just gone, Ronaldo has again top scored with 34. Alvaro Morata got 18, though he only got 9 in the league. and only 2 other players scored five or more goals. So there's this sort of gradual decline of players scoring goals. Now, it may not necessarily on the face of it be a bad thing that one player is scoring the majority of goals, because a goal is a goal, right? Doesn't matter where they come from. But in the case of Ronaldo, his own exploits have been sort of to a detrimental effect. So in the case of his fellow attackers, it's highlighted by the fact that Ronaldo leads Serie A stats in terms of number of shots taken, number of shots on target, and number of times he's carried the ball into the box. But no other Juventus player makes the top 9 in any of those categories. And this is a team that were going for 10 in a row league titles and only just made the Champions League last year. And thanks to other results, I think it was Atlanta that they were scrapping with, and I think Atlanta sort of threw it away towards the end, and obviously Inter Milan under Conte won the league in the end. So the stats for Ronaldo, if you look at Ronaldo in isolation, his stats are incredible. They still are. But if you look at the team around him, it'd be interesting to see whether we see similar sorts of stats for United, and if we notice a bit of a downward spiral, because we know Ronaldo's a greedy player. We know, he can be stroppy when the ball doesn't get past to him, for example. And just one final point on this. Over the past 2 seasons, Ronaldo has just 11 assists for his teammates. Messi, 41.
Oh God, I really feel like I'm not going to get on with it.
So, I mean, we compare Ronaldo and Messi all the time. Everyone's the conversation.
Sounds like a dickhead, if I'm honest.
So yeah, it's just worth noting, worth sort of keep an eye out to see whether I might be doing him a disservice. It might be that he just thought the rest of his Juventus teammates were shit. When he's United, he's got Fred in his team, isn't he? So
I was going to say, although United are maybe not of the same caliber of fellow team members, that they are, but United just don't seem to be able to pull it together for some reason.
Well, because of what I said, I think we're just missing that midfielder. But also, it's difficult to compare Barcelona to Juventus. Messi's been at Barcelona.
Yeah, that's true.
And they play in different roles. I mean, Messi's more of I know he does score goals, but he's more of a playmaker player than Ronaldo. Ronaldo's moved into that lone striker position.
True, yeah, that's true. But I've seen a number of highlight reels where you see the sort of little layoffs that Messi will make when he could easily score. We know he could do. Ronaldo in those same situations is never passing. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, because frankly he's still scoring 37 goals at 34, 35 years old. So he shouldn't necessarily be criticised for that. It's just, again, worth noting, because that might have a detrimental effect on the team, their confidence levels. If Ronaldo gets injured, all of a sudden these players that aren't scoring goals, aren't high in confidence, have suddenly got to step up. So yeah, we shall see. Just quickly onto the game itself, as if things couldn't get any worse for Arsenal right now. It was a record-breaking away win for United, because they've now gone 27 games unbeaten, which is now more than the Arsenal Invincibles all those years ago. I think it was 04 into 05. We touched on Solskjaer. It's easy to forget that he's actually doing a reasonable job at times, because we've just spoken about some of the criticisms, some of the other things that have been going on, a lot of the media stories around some of the players. But that's no mean feat. 27 away games without losing in a row.
Yeah, but well, I'm going to be negative again.
Just because they just haven't been outstanding.
There's been no fans in the stadium for the last year and a bit, so that will have a massive impact.
You're so glass half empty tonight.
Well, problem is that doesn't come with a trophy, so I couldn't care less.
Oh dear, I love it. Right,
it's a nice little thing, especially as it is more dig on Arsenal. But I do, if it'd been with fans in the stadium, I would say that is unbelievable, because it is really hard to go away.
I mean, you could also argue, though, there should be a huge amount of praise lavished on them, just because in so many of those games last year you went behind.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's a huge amount of character there to come back from all of those times you went behind.
Yeah.
To the game, as we touched on, a string of amazing saves from De Gea. One in particular, the double save he made.
That was unreal.
That was De Gea of 4 or 5 years ago. That was. But as you said, it was a bit of a smash and grab type approach.
Yeah,
good goal from Greenwood, but was there a foul in the build-up, Dan, from Pogba?
What foul?
Come on, take your Man United hat off and assess this. Was it a foul by Pogba?
Well, I thought they were trying to cut out these tiny little niggles, and
no, that's fine. But I mean,
I know everyone's going to be like, oh, he's so biased. But I mean, yeah, maybe I am looking at it with a bias hat on. But the fact that he carried on sort of running, looked at the ref, realised the ref hadn't given it, winced his face and then rolled on the floor for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm with you. I think if he'd have gone down straight away...
then and I would have definitely said, that's a foul.
So, I mean, I'm not denying that Pogba hasn't caught him, but I don't think, based on the fact that he took at least 1 or 2 steps, then winced and looked at the referee before going over. By the time he's gone over, the ball's already made its way out to Greenwood. And he could have
easily jumped straight back up and got back into play, but he carried on rolling around on the floor.
Yeah, Fernandes is still at it. I was listening to the game on the radio in part, and they were talking about Fernandes just constantly sort of going down, whinging at the referee for 5 minutes.
And to be fair to the ref, he didn't give any of these sort of free kicks to us, where Fernandes kept going down and rolling around. And I was like, it's good, but it would be good to cut out these sort of challenges where, there's nothing really there, and players are going down, rolling around, realising they're not getting the free kick, jumping straight back up and getting involved in play. So it's good to cut them out. But, like you say, if Pogba... If he had gone, I think it was Neves, wasn't it? If Neves had gone down straight away holding it, I'd have been like, okay, that's a foul. But the fact that he managed to walk a little bit, look at the ref, realised he hadn't given it yet, then suddenly fall to the floor, I'm not having it.
Yeah, no worries. And then lastly for United, it was the first start for Sancho and Varane as well. Yeah. What did you make of their performances?
Varane I thought was solid, and I'm looking forward to seeing him more. Sancho, I don't know if it was just he didn't really have much to do, or I just didn't really feel like he got that involved. I didn't really ever see anything from him.
Okay.
But I hate it when players all wear the same boots, because I'm constantly like, is that Sancho? Is that Fernandes? Especially from a distance. Obviously, when the camera zooms in, you can see. But when they're all in yellow boots, I usually look for yellow boots is Fernandes.
And so often they'll be swapping positions as well. It can be tricky.
But long way to go. Hopefully next game he'll get another start and we'll see a bit more from him.
For Wolves, just quickly, it's now 57 shots and counting. They've not scored in the Premier League this year. They did put 4 past Nottingham Forest in the Cup, I believe. Starting to be a bit of a concern, though, isn't it? 57 shots and goal. They've dominated, large parts of this game. They've dominated large parts of the game against Spurs.
I wouldn't be too concerned, I don't think, with Wolves. I mean, they've been unlucky. They've had Spurs, United and Leicester as their first 3 games. They've lost all of them 1-0. They dominated Spurs. They dominated us. I think that, the next game is going to come and it might be a case of, like you said, when it rains, it pours.
Well, they've got Watford away and Brentford at home the next 2 games.
Is Traore the rugby player one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. And they've just signed Hwang Hee-chan from Leipzig.
Okay.
It's another striker.
Yeah, I think, another player that West Ham had looked at or were linked with in the past.
So I think the goals will come. I think it's just a case of being pretty unlucky at the moment.
Yeah, and Jimenez, I feel like just needs a goal. His stats are... I think for number of shots and number of chances created in and around the box or something along those lines, he's top at the moment. So he's involved. He's getting in the right areas. He's just not again finding the back of the net.
And Traore's looked really good. He just can't find the net.
If he could score, he'd probably be the best player in the world.
He would probably be up there with Messi and that.
Their actual game's not that bad. It's literally just them in the final just getting the ball.
Because watching Wolves, I thought they were actually very good as a team.
They're pretty tight.
Still, the rumours though about Traore won't go away. I know you're probably we're going to touch on it later, but we'll just quickly touch on it now.
Where's he?
Has he? It was Spurs apparently.
Oh, great! Come over.
Has the rumours won't go away. We've got an international break now. The transfer window obviously closes tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Do we think Spurs or somebody might go in for him? I mean, obviously the link with Nuno is the reason why, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Who doesn't need a rugby player in a football team?
No, I don't think he'll be going to Spurs. I think he'll be staying.
I think he'll stay there.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Okay. Well, let's touch on Chelsea-Liverpool next. Let's go on to this game. So not quite the game I think we all wanted it to be.
No.
Entertaining though.
It was entertaining. We got to see another string to the bow of Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel. Now, their ability to dig in and grind out results, if they're going to challenge for a Premier League properly, that is a massive must-have quality of any team. And after Reece James got sent off, which we'll touch on in a moment, they really were backs to the wall against Liverpool, but they never really looked that much in danger, did they? They defended
Even
brilliantly.
though there wasn't that many goals, I feel like this was quite an end-to-end, exciting, good game of football.
Yeah, well, these are two
watch.
good teams with
They're the
two
best
exciting
teams.
managers.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like the red card might have robbed us
Oh
of
yeah,
a really
100%.
Yeah.
exciting
100%.
game.
For sure. I think it was
Um,
set to be a bit more. There definitely would have been more goals, I think. But Chelsea, fuck me, they went for it in the second
Yeah,
half.
and I think
didn't they?
Chelsea ended up just parking the bus and sort of
All
trying
on the
to,
counter, wasn't it?
trying to hold
They
out.
smashed it though. They did.
Oh, they
defensively,
did great,
unreal.
yeah, because it was relentless. It was more attack v defence drill after Reece James got sent off.
So yeah, Havertz scored the goals. A wonderful
Nice
header.
Great goal.
It was one of those headers where you feel like he did mean it, but I don't know whether he actually believed himself he was scoring or whether he was just putting it into an area
Yeah,
and hoping it either went in or someone got there. But either way, it was a fantastic header. And then, of course, the penalty incident, which
Unfortunate.
kind of changed the game a little bit. Now, we know what Joe thinks about it. We know that he. So here's the thing, right? So under the rules of the game, under the rules of football, and I sent this to Joe as well. I bet he didn't read it because it was quite a long message I sent him, and I know what he's like when I send him long messages. But I saw a match today as well. If a player is adjudged to have handballed the ball and prevented an obvious goal scoring opportunity, it is a red card. Now, Joe said to me in a message that he thought it was a penalty, but didn't think it was a red card. And unfortunately, if you give the penalty for the handball and the ball is otherwise going to go in, you have to give the red card. So you can't really have one without the other. Now, first of all, then, did you think it was a penalty?
yeah. See, I was going to say I completely agree with Joe. I thought it was a dead set penalty, but when the red
very
card was
harsh
given,
red card.
I thought that's very harsh. Like it shouldn't really be a red. But as you say, unfortunately, that's the letter of the law. Because, I've seen a lot of Chelsea players going in on, I can't remember the ref's name.
Anthony Taylor.
Yeah. It's not really his fault. He's gone. His
hands are tied.
Yeah. If he hadn't given the red card, he wouldn't have been doing his job properly.
Yeah, and he would have got tons of grief off his superiors.
So unfortunately,
Exactly. Klopp would have gone at him, yeah.
So unfortunately, I completely agree with Joe. I think the red card was so harsh and it changed the game and sort of was a bit of an anticlimax. But it, like he says himself, it was a penalty, and unfortunately, as harsh as it was, that is apparently the letter of the law.
I feel like I agree with what I think it was Gary Neville said. I feel like because the ball flicked up off his thigh, if it had flicked up off his thigh and then hit his arm, I think they might have got away with it.
I think it was the
But
movement.
it's because
wasn't it?
he moved
The
his arm
swing
forward like that
movement,
swinging movement. I think that's what's done him in.
But I don't. I mean, only he knows. I don't know if that swing movement was him trying to bat it away or if it was him trying to move his body.
Balance,
Do you know what I mean? Only he will know whether he meant to do that or whether it was him just sort of trying to move his body. But
yeah, are we at the? I saw a very interesting post actually. Are we at the point where where football could look to introduce a penalty goal? So, for example, in this situation where the ball was clearly going to go over the line and he's handballed it, rather than send the player off, the referee just gives a goal
give the goal.
and avoid the red card situation together and avoid killing the game. Do you think that that idea would ever see the light of day? I mean, like everything else in football, they'd probably screw it up and it would be a poor implementation of it. But
yeah, I mean, nowadays I wouldn't rule anything out.
it just feels like that. It just gets rid of all the controversy.
It did. I mean, it did kind of ruin the game, and it always does when a player gets a red card, unless
in those types of games it does.
Yeah, when it's a close knit game. Yeah, I mean, don't see why not.
And a lot has been made. Joe, we know, is I think he's still having nightmares about Anthony Taylor. And there's even a petition going around at the moment, which is up to about 60,000 signatures the last I looked, which is basically trying to ban Anthony Taylor from ever refereeing Chelsea
They
again.
have to discuss that in Parliament now.
If it gets to 100,000, I think they have to discuss it in Parliament.
Imagine that.
Boris Johnson, in the middle of talking about COVID in Afghanistan, has to talk about Anthony Taylor refereeing Chelsea games. So, do you buy into this narrative? I mean, one of the things they talked about was the fact that when he went over to the screen, he only looked at a still image, not a video.
I did see that, to be fair.
Now, I wonder if that's because in his head he's already given the penalty. Of course, did he give the? No, he didn't give the penalty, did he?
He didn't.
He didn't originally give it, and then looked at the VAR.
Yeah.
So I wonder if VAR said in his head, "It's a penalty. Go and look to see if you think it's deliberate and send them off or something like that." And they just showed him the still. But
Yeah.
it does seem weird they wouldn't show video footage and only
With
show a
all the
still.
tech they've got, and he didn't watch the bloody video. That's ridiculous.
And it was very quick. He was literally over there. He looked at it and then he was
like, oh,
over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure about this, but yeah, do you buy into this narrative about referees? I mean, there's even a spreadsheet that's been doing the rounds about over the last decade, Chelsea's average points, depending on the referee they've had. And in fairness, there is a fairly noticeable drop-off, but the average points per game between Anthony Taylor and the other referees who were all sort of clustered together. But I think it's just, when you take a stat like that in isolation, yes, it looks bad, but you'd have to look at every single decision, every single game to work out whether he's been unlucky.
Life's too short.
Yeah, and I just don't know if it's... I don't know if I buy into that narrative. In my opinion, at the top level of the game, to have a referee that is openly being biased against one team, I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. It's frustrating that it's the same referee that it keeps happening. I get it, but to just turn around and say, it's not like Saturday League where some of the referees we've had, which are clearly just they hate us. I don't think it works at the Premier League level.
And I think players and managers move around so much that if a referee hated a particular manager or player, they're probably not at that club anymore anyway.
No, exactly. And the amount of shit that Klopp gives referees, if anything, they'd be looking to get one over on him, surely.
Yeah.
So, I don't buy that. But anyway, did we learn anything about either team? Obviously, Liverpool had a huge amount of the ball, didn't really create anything
They didn't really do much. I was a bit
against the
surprised.
10 men. Maybe that was down to Chelsea's defending and their shape. Can be very difficult to break down.
Klopp would be a little bit fuming that Chelsea went down to 10 men and they evened it out.
Yeah, I think if anything, it was 2 points lost for Liverpool and 1 point gain for Chelsea. It was at Anfield as well. So for them to go, because it was like the 57th minute or something?
No, it was 40. I think it was in extra time in the first half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, it's a great point for Chelsea. And I think, had that not happened, I think Chelsea would have gone on to win it, personally.
Yeah, I mean, have we learned anything about either of those two teams in terms of their title credentials?
Yeah,
I think Chelsea are
could win it.
definitely going to be fighting for the league this season.
100%.
I don't know about Liverpool, whether they're quite
fighting
there,
for third.
but at the same time, I don't think you can ever rule them out either.
No. Yeah, I think I said it the last week or the week before that I still personally think United are going to be closer than you think they are. I don't for 1 minute think they're going to win the league, but I think they'll get closer to it than I think you think they do.
I'd prefer to set the bar low, and
so you can't be disappointed.
Yeah.
So I think Liverpool. They've had so much success under Klopp. They know what it takes to win major trophies and the Premier League. But despite City, who we'll talk about in a minute, if you think what Liverpool had to do to beat City to the league title in terms of the number of points, they lost one game all season. They got 97 points and still didn't win the league. And then obviously the next year City were very much off the ball and then they won it. So it's going to be an amazing season, I think.
Yeah, I hope there is a 3 or 4 horse race this year, and I hope it goes right up to the deadlock. It'd be nice if we had another sort of Aguero moment.
Oh yeah, final day, 3 teams in with a chance, 3 or 4 teams in with a chance would be brilliant. That would be absolutely amazing. Right, let's just quickly touch on Man City Arsenal. I know we've Arsenal fans will probably switch off at this point. It never rains, but it pours with Arsenal, doesn't it? I mean, my prediction with Man City struggling in front of goal is also looking a bit...
Yeah, what was it you said?
I can't remember. I don't think I said anything. You heard nothing, chat. But, I mean, this game, this really could have been any score that City wanted it to be. It was...
It's like training for them.
It really was. I mean, at one point, the possession stat, I think, was 97% in a 5 or 10 minute window. I think the entire second half was 91, and the overall game was 80% possession. And I cannot remember a time where I've seen possession stats quite that one-sided. Even in like cup games where lower league teams don't have such little possession. But conceding goals is one thing. Conceding them in the manner that they did, the first 2 goals especially, were just... You cannot... this is the sort of goal I would expect a team fighting relegation to concede. The Fulham last year, some of the goals they conceded, West Brom, those really sloppy, no one marking, no cohesiveness in that defensive unit, those sorts of goals. And that is a really worrying sign for Arsenal. Yeah,
and I find it interesting, Arteta just seems to be... It seems to me like he's still not found what he wants to do with that team.
He doesn't know his best team.
No, and I know they have got players out still, but every team I think has different players rotating around. I'm pretty sure he went for a different formation.
But I don't even think, did Aubameyang even do anything?
So this is a funny thing. So Aubameyang started. Obviously, they played midweek, and I actually spoke to you on Thursday about this because they dicked West Brom 6-0.
Yeah.
And I said to Dan, I said, they could have done with Norwich this weekend because now they've just been spanked by City, and the way that it's happened, all of their momentum they otherwise may have got from that cup game has now disappeared. And Aubameyang, despite the fact that Xhaka was sent off in the 35th minute or whatever it was, Aubameyang got a worse player rating than Xhaka did.
He didn't do it. I don't think I even heard them say his name. Hardly ever.
No, I don't. It's tough for Aubameyang though, because I don't know if you can put all the blame on him.
Of course not. Not in this game. Not in this game.
How often did he get the ball? Every time I saw Arsenal get the ball, it was right. Quickly pump it down the other end so that
I didn't even realise he was playing. I watched some of the match. I didn't even realise he was playing until.
I don't think his head's in it anymore. I think he's. All these rumours of him leaving. I think he's very much.
He's not enjoying. I mean, you can't enjoy what's going on right now. And when Lacazette came on as well, there was one point where he was running up the pitch with the ball on a very rare excursion into Man City's half, and he just had nobody around him. And when he lost the ball, I just looked at him, and he just sort of did a really heavy sigh as if to say, "Fucking hell!" Like it looks like a chore. Now, of course, he got to 5-0, but from an Arsenal point of view, one shot on goal, the entire game, none on target. The Xhaka sending off was ridiculous. They need their senior players to stand up right now. And that's his 4th red card for Arsenal now. And if you think of the journey that man's been on, in terms to club captain, then he had the altercation with the fans, he was going to get sold, brought back in, even given the armband in Aubameyang's absence, and he's now done that. So he's now going to be missing for 3 games. And he is one of the most senior players in that team. So
he's a bit of a dick, isn't he?
Yeah, he is a bit of a twat. And most Arsenal fans, I think...
Your input for every player is just insults.
Not all of them.
But
a lot of people feel like he did it. Obviously, he did it. It was stupid. But a lot of people feel like he just gave up on the game, so he kind of just did it.
I agree with you. He is a dick.
On this, we are all agreed on this particular. I would say though that I've found a newfound respect for Arsenal fans though. Did you?
Yeah.
So they cheered the 4th goal when it went in, and then for those of you that didn't know as well, they also. They were obviously getting some abuse from the City fans probably throughout the game. And at one point, Arsenal fans just started singing, "We lose every week, you're nothing special, we lose every week." And I could see the Man City fans were pissing themselves laughing and clapping, and sort of like it was almost like a fair play moment. You think, this should be a much bigger game, a much tighter game than this, and this is the sort of thing that's going on in the crowd right now.
What I'd love to see is, I don't know if you've ever seen the video of I think it was like Polish football or something, where they had the arrows and they were pointing down to the goal because they still haven't scored a goal yet.
No, that
in the league anyway.
I would love it if that happened at the Emirates next time they play there. And then of course when you thought it couldn't get any worse, today on social media, Ainsley Maitland-Niles goes on social media almost pleading with the club. He even tagged Arsenal in the post. What was it? So I've got it here. All I want to do is go where I'm wanted and where I'm going to play. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, that's for a player to go on social media and do that.
Big something.
Yeah. Well, he has been linked with. Well, I've got it in my transfer thing.
He was at Wolves last year. No, West Brom. No, he's at West Brom. Wasn't he? Sorry.
He's been linked with 2 of their players. I think it's Everton. He's been linked with Everton, I believe. So I could see them coming in for him, but. I think, to be honest, that statement cuts probably 10 mil off his price tag because now, that's almost a transfer request, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a public transfer.
He's probably getting enough money anyway. So he's just pissed off, isn't he?
Well, I just feel like Arsenal have had quite a few good youth players come through, like Joe Willock, and I'm just very surprised with the situation they're in and with the team they've got, which is really average. Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't made more use of some of these players.
Talented youngsters.
Yeah, and they just seem to be happy to get rid of them.
Especially when they see how good these talented youngsters are doing at other teams now that they've brought them through.
Well, the very fact that, I mean, I know it didn't happen, but Aston Villa came in twice for Smith Rowe in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, the very fact that Villa have bid for one of Arsenal's most talented youngsters kind of says all you need to know about what other clubs think of Arsenal right now. Because if that was Arsenal of 10 years ago, nobody would have gone in for him. They wouldn't even have bothered. It would have been a waste of time. But Villa obviously thought they had
player would have wanted to go from Arsenal.
Well, that as well. But
Now they probably
Villa clearly thought they had a genuine chance of getting him. So anyway,
I think if Arsenal hadn't have blocked it, they probably would have had a good chance.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So anyway, next two games after the international break, Norwich, and I believe it's Burnley is the second one, I think. I mean, they're huge
They're
games.
6-pointers, aren't they?
I mean, it's
funny.
ridiculous to say.
Norwich,
It's easy to say like it's a relegation battle and stuff like that, but that is a.
They've got to get their season
if
going.
Arsenal lose to Norwich, then Arteta's gone.
I just don't know. It's a bit like Solskjaer. I mean, how many times did we say this with Solskjaer when he had those mentally bad runs?
Win 3 games and then everyone will love him again.
I just don't. I think Solskjaer's a bit luckier than Arteta. I can't see Arteta sort of doing the ollie.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just one final point to remember that Amazon are documenting this season.
Oh, it's going to be great.
It's going to be calamity TV at its absolute best. Right, Arsenal fans, you can turn us back up again. We've finished talking about you now. But for City, a totally dominating performance. I mean, unless something comes out of the blue now, it seems that City's search for a striker is over. They failed with Kane. They failed with Ronaldo. I don't know whether they were ever seriously in for Haaland this summer. I don't think they were. Not when you can get him for so much cheaper as of January.
Haaland's not going to happen on the deadline day, is it?
Do they need a striker?
So that's my question. So they've shut me up so far in terms to needing a striker because they're the joint top scorers in the league. They have scored 10 goals against, let's be honest, the bottom 2 teams in the league right now. So you could sort of take that with a bit of a pinch of salt, I suppose, if you're being mightily critical. But I still maintain, and I'm going to double down on this, at some point through this season, they're going to struggle with a lack of a focal point against some of the better sides in the league. And I feel like they'll get away with it when they're playing poor teams, when they're in the mood and everyone's in the mood and they score lots of goals. But with 3 or 4 other teams going for the league title, or a total of 4, there is a genuine opportunity that if a lack of a striker potentially cost them 3 or 4 wins that they can't convert from a draw to a win, for example, those lost points could be huge this season. Previous seasons they get away with it because they just win everything else and other teams aren't quite there. Yeah. But this season I don't feel like they can get away with it. And I feel like as long as Chelsea and Liverpool and maybe United can stay consistent and keep with them, I just got this feeling that might come into play at some point this year.
Yeah, I just think you've got to take into account injuries. If a couple of those sort of Grealish and Torres get injured, who's playing as your striker? I mean, I know they've got Jesus, but, let's just say Jesus and Torres. I know they have got a lot of players you can switch around and stuff like that. And to be honest, if anyone was to be able to turn a midfielder into a striker, I think it would be Guardiola. He's done well with Sterling. Sterling's biggest sort of critical point was that he couldn't score goals, and then he became their top goal scorer like 2 years in a row. So I think if anyone can turn, say, Torres into a striker, it'll be Guardiola.
Yeah. I mean, City, do you think they'll be happy? So they bought Grealish for 100 million. They brought one young Brazilian winger called Kaki. I'd never heard of him. I looked up City signings and he was in there for 9 million from a Brazilian side, Fluminense.
Must
I think
be
it
like
was.
Another Jesus.
Possibly, but obviously no. I hadn't heard of it, so they've obviously not made a big fanfare about it for 9 million. They've also brought in Scott Carson, which I thought was quite nice from Derby on a free, the old goalkeeper.
They already had him, didn't they?
Did they? Oh, he showed up on my.
He's on the documentary we watched from last season.
He played last season.
Oh, that website's
played
shit.
in their last game of the season.
Oh, he did. That's right. Yeah, he did. So why is that? I don't know why that came up. He came up with transfers in.
Maybe
Scott Carson
maybe
from
signed
Derby.
another contract, another 1 year.
Unless he was only on loan from Derby and his contract ran out and they just signed him permanently. I don't know. Maybe it was that. But anyway, my point is, will that be enough? Do you think for City? Have they got? Do they need anything else? I guess is my question.
I think you look at their team, you'd say no, other than a striker, and I think at the moment they're getting by without one. So I could see them waiting until next year and then going for Haaland, to be honest. Because now we've got Ronaldo, we're not going to be in that race. Chelsea aren't going to be in that race. Liverpool probably aren't going to be in that race. There's talks of Mbappe going to Real Madrid. So I think it's maybe just going to be sort of PSG, City, the two oil companies going head to head against each other.
Yeah, the UAE against Qatar for Haaland's signature. Right, okay. Well, we've had a slightly longer than usual first half of the show, but we will head for a break. When we come back, a couple of games to go through, the transfers, and then we'll get into round 3 of the quiz. See you in a minute. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the show. So as always, after the break, we will head straight into the transfer rumour mill, which will be the last time we do a rumour mill, I guess.
Yeah, I'll do a roundup of all the sort of big confirmed ones next time.
Yeah. Cool. Right, over to you then, Dan.
First one I'm sort of quite happy to start with is Leeds are in advanced talks with United over the permanent signing of Daniel James.
Yeah, well, during the break, I looked at my my WhatsApp and I had a message from another Man United fan, and he'd sent me a gif of Steve Carell with a big grin on his face from The Office, saying, "I'm so happy right now." So I immediately went back to him and I said, "I presume that Dan James is now a Leeds player." So, and also at the weekend, he sent me a WhatsApp of how bad Dan James is at the exact same time that you did. It was literally, I scrolled down my notification bar and I had the almost word for word the same message from both of you. So yeah, it's good business. He's not a Man United player, is he?
No. I mean, we only signed him because Ryan Giggs asked us to be honest. So it's not worked out. I think he'll be good at Leeds. I think he's maybe more suited to their style of football, but
less pressure.
Yeah, he's just a hit and run type player to me, and it just doesn't suit.
Do you think he's a Bielsa player though? Because Bielsa's a very, tactically astute manager. Yeah. He obviously thinks that Dan James technically is good enough to play in his system, or maybe he sees potential in him to improve him in the way he has done with Bamford.
Well, it's not our problem anymore. Another one that I didn't have originally, but just sort of saw while we're on the break, is Crystal Palace are close to signing Celtic's Odsonne Edouard.
That's a good signing.
Yeah, great signing.
Was it 15 to 20 million?
Yeah, 15 to 20.
That's a good price. I mean, generally speaking, players who come down from Scotland, from Rangers or Celtic or whoever, they don't seem to command much of a fee. If you think about what Van Dijk cost Southampton when they bought him, and Edouard now coming down. I think this is a good signing because I know Palace, we'll talk about the West Ham Palace game in a moment. They've scored their first goals. Things are looking a little better under Vieira at the moment. But they are still lacking a goal scorer. That was evident at the weekend. So if Edouard can come in and sort of hit the ground running in the way he's been doing at Celtic, then that's going to be a very good signing for Palace, I think.
It is a great signing. To be honest, I've never even heard of this guy, but he's a Barcelona player. Apparently, Tottenham have made a €30 million bid for Barcelona right back Emerson Royal.
30 or 13?
30.
3-0. Okay. Do you know what? When I look at Barcelona and Real Madrid's squad now, there are so many players in there that I'm like, who the hell are you? Maybe it's a combination of not keeping up with it, but when I think back to the squads that Barcelona and Real Madrid used to have, they had superstars in every single position. Yeah. And it's obviously a sign of the times with their money troubles and whatnot, but 13 million I couldn't tell you if that's good value for money or not. I really couldn't.
No, when I saw his name, I thought he must be a youngster or something like that, but sort of £25 million. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So since Nuno now at Spurs, Serge Aurier has been completely ousted from the squad by all accounts.
They've got Tanganga's been
good. They've still got Doherty. And Doherty, Nuno will know him.
Player,
so I'm surprised they're going after another right back.
And they've kept 3 clean sheets from their first 3 games.
Yeah. So it's an interesting. Unless Emerson, is versatile and can play in other positions, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
but that'd be interesting to see if that's just paper talk or whatever.
Also, just briefly, this isn't one of my transfer things. Did you know Moussa Sissoko was at Watford?
Yes, and just earlier in the week, it just seemed to happen in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I saw him playing the other day, and I was like, when the hell did that happen?
Do we know what the fee was?
Not a clue.
No. I think it might be one of those undisclosed jobs.
But it must be.
He's been a bit of a meme player for Spurs for a long time.
Yeah.
And most Newcastle fans were laughing when they heard that they got 30 million for him all those years ago. So, fair play. I think that's a good signing for Watford, though.
Leicester are in talks with RB Leipzig over a possible deal to sign Ademola Lookman.
Okay.
He was on
loan at Fulham, yeah. Have RB Leipzig got any players left?
God knows.
Because
I think they're another one of these sort of Dortmund teams where they get players in cheap and then sell them on for profit.
How have Leicester been all right?
They've won all.
got smashed by West Ham, though, didn't they?
Yeah, they've won 2, lost 1.
So just while we're going through some other stuff, there was something that
he did well for Fulham.
Yeah, he did. He was one of their better. I mean, he took that awful penalty against West Ham.
He tried the Panenka.
But he did score some good goals for them, and he was generally quite dangerous. I'm going to try and find something I saw online earlier, which was talking about. I'm just trying to find it. What was it? Keep talking, Dan, and I'll come back to you.
All right. Well, the next one sort of involves you, mate. It's West Ham are apparently in talks to sign CSKA Moscow's 25 million rated playmaker Nikola Vlasic.
Yeah, I saw bits of him at the Euros. He looked okay. One of those players, I guess, if you sign from those sorts of leagues, with the greatest respect, they don't come a bit like Scotland, I guess. They don't come with hefty price tags. But if, by all accounts, it sounds like Lingard is not going, that's today's story anyway, then we do need another person in that position. So yeah, fingers crossed. Every signing David Moyes has made so far has turned out really well. So he's earned the right to judge afterwards. Exactly, Moyes we trust, born winner.
Have you found it? Or do you want me to
I have, yes. Yeah. So Red Bull Leipzig came second in the Bundesliga last season. Since then, Bayern Munich have nicked their manager, signed their best centre-back and signed their captain. This is why I can't take that league seriously.
Yeah.
And we were just saying, RB Leipzig have also let... wasn't Liverpool's new centre-back?
Konaté.
Wasn't he from Leipzig as well?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And did you not say Wolves have signed their striker?
Yeah.
So that's, 5-6 players?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope they've got some good youth players. Or they
just signed a Barcelona youth player as well. So apparently Hudson-Odoi is in talks with a loan move to Dortmund.
I think that'd be a good move.
A great move.
Really good move. Dortmund's record with English players is fantastic. Look at Sancho and
exactly replace Sancho with
Bellingham is shining the place up over there at the moment. So yeah, I think that'd be a great move.
Here's a player that you probably forgot still play for Chelsea, like many of them.
I think I know who you're going to say.
And AC Milan have announced the signing of Bakayoko on another 2-year loan deal.
2-year loan deal. Why don't Arsenal just? Is that how? Not Arsenal, Chelsea. Why don't they just sell him? Like, how long was his contract?
There is an option to buy, but I think these clubs they take advantage of doing the loan and then saying, "Nah, we don't really want to sign him."
Yeah, but
Chelsea have a habit actually of quite cleverly. They don't send loan players out and then sort of let their contract run down before they send a player out on loan. They always give them a 1-year extension to retain their value.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they've always got these players, and they're never leaving because they always extend their contracts.
Yeah. Do you know what I heard the other day about AC Milan? I heard on the radio that they drawn Liverpool, didn't they, in their Champions League group? Apparently, it's the first time that Liverpool and AC Milan have played a competitive match at Anfield.
Wow.
Given the history of those two clubs in Europe, I find that unbelievable. If that's stat, I've not checked it. I've not fact checked this, but if that's true, that is unbelievable. Given that Liverpool have won the European Cup however many times, Milan have won it, maybe not recently, but they've won it a number of times in their history. To think they've never come up against each other at Anfield would be amazing.
Norwich have signed Turkish defender Kabak on loan from Schalke.
This is the guy Kabak from Liverpool.
Yeah, from Liverpool. Yeah. Okay. Good signing.
Well, let's hope he improves them because they're leaking.
They need something.
They need to plug those gaps in their defence pretty sharpish.
But they've got an option to buy as well for 10 million. So.
I guess that will probably hinge on whether they get relegated or not.
Yeah, I imagine so. And we spoke about this one a second ago. Willian has sort of cancelled his contract. Yeah,
so this is interesting. So we touched last week on the number of Arsenal players on big wages, Willian being one of them. He's supposedly on higher than I originally thought. Yeah. He's on about 240k a week. Yeah. And apparently he is willing to tear up his contract, therefore get rid of any stumbling blocks, doesn't want any kind of, sort of compensation package or whatever it is that they get for these sorts of things. And he's prepared to leave and take a huge pay cut to go and play for Corinthians. And apparently the Arsenal directors are completely flabbergasted by this sort of desire that, Arsenal obviously want to get rid of him. Maybe they've not had any bids in for them, which would mean the only option for Arsenal would be to do some kind of mutual termination, which would mean a fairly large compensation package for a player that's still got 2 years left to run on his contract. And Willian said, "No, don't worry about it. I'll just
You've got to say
walk."
fair play to him for that, because not many players would have done that. I mean, the likes of Ozil obviously didn't do that.
No, he sucked the club dry for as long as possible, didn't he? So, no, fair play to him.
And lastly, I had to double check this one because I thought it must have been West Ham, but it's actually Brighton who are in talks with Slavia Prague striker Abdallah Sima.
I wonder why you brought that up. Yeah, well, I think it'll be very disappointing because Slavia Prague are our feeder club. How dare they do business with somebody else? So, I've seen videos. So when we were linked with him, I did the whole some of the fans do. They go on YouTube and find some videos of it, and he looks decent. I have to say, he looks powerful. He looks quick. Good finisher. So I was surprised that we never really had any sort of solid interest in him. So I hope we're not going to regret this.
Yeah.
If we don't sign him, he comes in and tears the place up. So right, is that all of them?
That's a wrap.
That is a wrap. So we'll obviously everyone, I'm sure, will be glued to their phones and TV tomorrow to see what their teams do on the last day of the season. If there's anything mental, maybe me and Dan will get together later in the week and do a special one-off and run through some stuff. But if not, we'll just maybe cover the important ones next week. Right, let's talk West Ham Palace. Cracking game at London Stadium, which looked completely and utterly like it was going to be a one-way game. Palace only had one shot on goal in the entire first half. West Ham, frankly, should have been out of sight by that point. And then, Palace came out in the second half, and Conor Gallagher, we said that he might be a good player for them, and scored both goals.
He will be.
Good goals as well, not bad goals.
The first one, they're both good goals, as you say. The first one, from a defensive point of view, was poor. Yeah. But the second one, the
turn. It reminded me of, was it Chadley for Belgium?
Do you mean the Wales player against Belgium?
Sorry, yeah.
Robson-Kanu.
Yeah, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, where he just did the Cruyff turn in the box and then stuck it in the corner. Really, really good goal. It's their first goals of the season under Vieira. By all accounts, Vieira he's impressing people at Palace, from what I understand. So my first manager to be sacked is looking ever more unlikely. But I think if they get Edouard in, what we touched on, I think Vieira could have a decent season. I think
they've got to give him time. Like, they've brought him in to change the way they play football. They didn't want to be this boring sort of Roy Hodgson team that just escaped relegation.
And they had Hodgson for a number of years, right? So it's going to take time to get that out of their system, isn't it?
Yeah. And they've not had the easiest start in terms of team, although they did have Brentford, but Brentford are on a bit of a high at the moment. Even Villa struggled against them.
Yeah, Vieira, he said that he still wants players. I think defensively, they still need some defensive players. I think they look very open and vulnerable, and frankly, it was only our poor finishing and poor decision-making in the final pass that sort of saved them from more goals conceded. They just brought Will Hughes in from Watford, not the world's best signing, but he's a decent player, I suppose.
Yeah, he's a squad player, I guess.
Yeah. But I think defensively they still need something else defensively.
Yeah.
So
time's running out.
It is indeed. So I suspect Palace may well be busy over the next 24 hours or so. From a West Ham point of view, we've spoken about whether or not West Ham are going to get stung by the Europa League competition this year and the amount of games they're going to have to play. That argument will start to come out as the European games kick off. They got quite a favourable draw, didn't we? In the Europa League, so I'm quite excited.
Pressure's on more now.
So, what have you guys made of West Ham so far? We've had we've been quite open defensively at times. 4-2 against Newcastle. We made Leicester look very average. Granted, there was a red card involved, but we did make them look very average. And at times, we looked unbelievable against Palace, but just a couple of little defensive errors creeping in again. So is that likely to be our Achilles heel, do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, you remind me a bit of Leeds, like very strong going forward, but very frail at the back.
Your attack looks strong, 100%.
I think Ben Rama and Antonio have got a great partnership already. There was one point in the Palace game which almost mirrored, I think it was the Leicester game, where Antonio had the ball running through And if it had just played that pass through to Benrahma earlier, you'd probably have banked on him scoring and making it 3-2.
Effectively the last kick of the game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, right at the end.
And Antonio just never looked up early enough.
And he took that extra touch and then he played the ball way too far.
Yeah, well, he had the opportunity to play the ball inside of the defender and then had to go round the outside and couldn't make the pass stick. But Benrahma at the moment is the player that we thought we were getting last season.
Yeah.
And he was on fire in pre-season. I stuck him in my dream team. And the fact that I'm up near the top of all the fantasy leagues that I'm in, for change, is largely down to the West Ham players in my team. Antonio and Benrahma, last time I checked, are the top scoring midfielders and strikers in the entire game.
Well, I owe you a little bit of my success because I said to you at the start, do I go for Smith Rowe or Benrahma? And God, did I! I'm glad I went with.
I can't believe I didn't say Smith Rowe to you. I should have said Smith Rowe. But no, I mean, the feel-good factor around the club at the moment is just outstanding. I mean, I can't remember a time where, I mean, I'm a little bit like you at times. I can be quite negative. I mean, maybe most fans are about their team. You always look at them from a negative standpoint rather than focusing on the positives. But I cannot remember a time where things just felt so good at West Ham. We're going into every game at the moment, and it's a little bit you're victim of your own success, because I was genuinely gutted that we didn't beat Palace, because I'm looking, we're top of the table, we can fucking stay up here for a bit. And it almost gives you this sense of invulnerability. You feel like you can win every single game.
I did see you going in on a few of the West Ham fans in the
they fucking
chat.
piss me off, they do.
So I started reading the comments and a lot of people calling Craig Dawson a championship player. Honestly,
the West Ham fans, I mean, every club has got them, but the West Ham fans are just, they're on another level, some of them. I don't know which one of the fans has had dibs on the brain cell that weekend. But they slate. There's one bad performance. It wasn't even that a bad performance. No. Just a couple of mistakes cost us. Yeah. We're joint top scorers in the league. We've been top for a good portion of the season so far, only pipped by Spurs, who now have the only 100% record in the league. And still, there's negativity flowing around. Not only about Dawson, but it was, slating Antonio for the bad pass. I'm like, are you guys actually for real?
He's top goal scorer.
He's top goal scorer in the league. Like, what is wrong with you people? So, yeah, I couldn't help myself. I saw that, and I'm not one to shy away from my Facebook comment these days.
That is an understatement.
And I saw that, and I was like, right, this is a bit of me. So I cracked my knuckles, got my keyboard out, and I was like, right, let's go. So, but no, everything is really good. The last time I can remember being this kind of positive was when we had Payet at the club. Yeah. But the difference then was that Payet carried us all season. We had some good players around. Lanzini had just come into the side. He was good. Defensively, Winston Reid was playing really well. But right now, there's so many. Every single player in that team, Souček, Rice, Benrahma, Bowen, they're all players that are on top of their game right now. Kufal, Creswell. It's not just one player. If one player of those doesn't have a good game, there's other players there to pick them up, and that's what is so good at the moment. So
I think your biggest test will be when you do start playing European games to see how the squad copes with it.
I am gutted that it's because it's Thursday nights, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's football training night. Yeah. So I'm gonna miss large portions of each game. Although the first game is because we're playing in. Like, some countries in Europe always have earlier kickoffs.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah. So we're playing against Zagreb, I think the first game, which is obviously Croatia. And it's a 5:45 kickoff, I think it is.
Okay.
So I might be able to see a bit of it before before I have to go to football. But
you can always record it anyway, can't you?
Yeah, I need to ring BT and sort BT Sport out. Otherwise I'm watching it on maybe I just don't train and just sit on the side and watch it on my phone. No, anyway, good things happening at West Ham at the moment. One big question though, Dan, given the cup draw, do we do a reaction video?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was really exciting last time.
It was. And we... 3 weeks or so, because after the international break. Because we were on an international break now,
Cup as well, wasn't it? So won't it be a midweek game?
It's a midweek game, yeah. So I think it's a Wednesday night on Sky.
So potentially could do.
So, I mean, we had such good luck with the first West Ham game.
Yeah, if anyone fancies watching us, watch a 0-0 game.
Yeah, and then we did England-Scotland, which was just as good. So
we set the bar low.
Surely it can't be any worse. So, yeah, we might do that. Right, let's move on. Let's talk Burnley Leeds. So, first time we've spoken about Burnley this season. Burnley and Leeds, it's fair to say, have both had fairly underwhelming starts to the season.
Yeah. I thought this would be the game where Leeds really kick on and sort of go all out attack and maybe score 4 or 5 goals.
It was not.
it really wasn't. I mean, Burnley were the better team throughout the entire game, and personally.
Yeah, I mean, Bamford saving the day. Talking of Bamford, he has obviously been called up to the England squad, and it's now looking ever more likely that he's going to get his debut because Calvert-Lewin has pulled out of the squad today. So that leaves only Kane and Bamford as the two recognised strikers. So, which means that Greenwood didn't make the squad. Or has he been called in?
I thought he had.
No, he hasn't made it. So there was Southgate made a point of saying that he's in the plans, but we want him to focus on club football because he's doing so well, rather than pressure. Maybe he's still grounded from his stuff in Iceland.
From Iceland.
But anyway, so do you think this is quite deserved? You know, Bamford's goal score record last season. A lot of people said he was unlucky to miss out on the Euros.
I think it's nice for him. For sure. I
feel like he's been called up because of last season rather than this season. I think that was his first goal this season.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't have been from this season.
I mean, Lingard's been called up as well.
He's not done anything this season.
Which is, I mean, he's played 5 minutes.
Is he just trying to? I think maybe he's just thinking it's quite soon after the Euros.
That's strange. He always tends to do this. He picks players that. It's like for the Euros, like he picked a load of players that weren't even going. I feel like he just likes to sort of try and keep as many people involved as possible.
He's trying to keep everyone happy because if like important people do get injured, he's got all these backups that he knows are going to be happy to play.
And Lingard is quite a big personality to have in the team.
Yeah, I do wonder why he's picked Lingard though, because he's not played football this season. I mean, he played a bit in pre-season.
Picked for Lingard to be in it.
It's a shame Antonio's gone to Jamaica.
Yeah, because Antonio probably would have been in line for a call, yeah. Although I don't think he's actually played for Jamaica yet, so he technically...
I think he's going to make his debut this weekend, isn't he? Or whenever they play.
To answer your question, Fran, honestly, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure who's had to step away to let him play, but... it'd be interesting to see how Bamford gets on. I think you're right. I still hold reservations about whether Bamford is good enough internationally. I know that's going to sound really harsh because of how well he's played in the Premier League, but I just don't know if he's good enough at international level. But I'm more than happy to be proved wrong. Yeah. I hope he does well. He deserves his call up.
To see how he goes from an all-out attack team to an all-out sit-back and defend team.
Here we go. Mr. Negative about Southgate as well.
Sorry.
So back to the game. Burnley now haven't won a home game in 12 games, a run that stretches back to February. And it wasn't so long ago that Turf Moor was considered a bit of a fortress. And I appreciate pandemic and lack of fans will have an impact on that. But is it fair to say now that people don't view Burnley and certainly Turf Moor as the scary place? You know, we're going to have to work really hard to get a result here.
Well, I think everybody was always picking a Burnley player to have in their FPL defence.
Certainly defend, exactly, yeah.
But they don't seem to be... I think these new rule changes are helping Burnley, though. There's that sort of physicality.
Yeah, this is right out there, Ali,
I was watching the Leeds game and they were going flying into every tackle, sending Leeds players into the stands with the fans.
Yeah, I imagine in the changing room when Sean Dyche gives them the news about, right, lads, you can go in a bit harder. They're all sharpening up their studs, sharpening their knuckles, right then, boys. But I mean, they've brought in a few players, most notable of which was a guy called Maxwell Cornett, who did a very interesting PR photograph. Did you guys see this one?
No.
Yeah, he's just signed for Umbro FC.
So during the photo shoot, for those of you who haven't seen it, he usually when you do a photo shoot, you point at the club badge.
Yeah.
He pointed at the Umbro badge on the other side of his shirt. Now, what gets me is Burnley released this photo. Does nobody notice he was pointing at the Umbro badge? I don't understand. I mean, there's been some great stuff on the internet about this. Like one saying he's pledged his loyalty to Umbro and he's signed for Umbro on a 4-year deal, this sort of thing. It's been brilliant. But yeah, how that got through the sort of approval process at Burnley, I have no idea.
Maybe that was the gag. Maybe you think how much media publicity that's gained.
No, that's true. No, maybe that was what it was all about. Chris Wood showing again. Such an important player for Burnley. It wasn't exactly it was a very typical Burnley goal. Maybe I'm doing them a disservice, but very scrappy. There was a sort of a corner that didn't get cleared and it seemed like it was in and around the box for like a minute before it eventually squirmed in.
Yeah.
I think Chris Wood is going to be very vital to Burnley this year because I still believe that they're not progressing enough as a team to not worry about relegation again.
No, I think they're going to be down there again fighting for relegation and battling. They remind me of like sort of gladiators, to be honest. They're just these sort of brutes that are there. I mean, I don't really want to be negative about Burnley because you have to have teams like Burnley and they're someone different. Like, they're not a team that you turn up and expect to smash. If anything, they're a team that you're worried that you're not going to score any goals against, or at least they have been in the past.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for that Rodriguez they've got. He's been stuck on 99 goals for...
What, Jay Rodriguez?
Yeah, he's been stuck on 99 goals for ages now.
They just won't play him.
No.
And what about Leeds? It's difficult to kind of know where Leeds are right now.
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I thought this would be the game where they sort of turn it around, and I think they've got Liverpool next.
Weren't they flying this time last year?
They certainly weren't flying, but performances-wise, they were really at
it. A lot
it.
better, weren't they?
I mean, I think they had a very tough start to last season, but if I remember rightly, was it 4-3 at Anfield they lost?
Yeah.
And it was that sort of game that made everyone stand up and notice. Oh shit, Leeds are serious players this season. We've not quite seen that same level of intensity yet.
I wonder if teams have maybe found them out a bit as well. You know, they know that Bielsa doesn't change his sort of tactics.
Yeah, we touched on this the other week when they played you.
Yeah, I wonder if teams maybe have set up a little bit better this year against Leeds than they have done in the past, and they're not going to be as easy to break down. But, if we're only 3 games in, you can't be really calling them.
No. Dan James going there. We'll see what he does. I mean, they're not... I don't believe Leeds are going to be in any trouble relegation-wise, but I don't think, at the moment anyway, they're looking like a team that's going to be worrying the Europa spaces. It seems like somewhere between sort of 9th, 10th and 14th probably for Leeds at the moment.
I would agree.
Right, okay. Let's head into Down the Stat Man then. Down the Stat Man.
So, only one other team are on a longer unbeaten run in the league within England's top 4/2 tiers than Liverpool, who extended their run without a defeat to 13 matches after their draw of Chelsea. But can you tell me who has a longer unbeaten run?
Unbeaten run. So we're talking league unbeaten run.
Yeah.
Trying to think then who from the Championship, because that means they would have had to been on a very good run, but clearly didn't get promoted. I will say Fulham. No, what we're talking about, they're in the Premier League last year.
They're definitely not.
They're definitely not on an unbeaten run. They might be, but not 13 games. Who was Bournemouth?
Nope. They lost their playoff.
Oh, we counted playoff. I thought you were talking league only.
Well, it's not them, so it doesn't matter whether they are or not.
Sheffield Wednesday?
Nope.
Preston?
No.
Am I Championship? Is it right in the Championship here?
No, it's Premier League.
Oh, you motherfucker. Who hasn't lost for 13? It's not West Ham, is it?
It's more than 13. Liverpool's 13. It's actually a team more than that. No, it's not West Ham.
Chelsea?
No, not Chelsea.
Oh, come on, put me out of my misery.
So I gave you top 2 because it's actually Championship, now Premier League. It's actually Brentford, gone 15 games unbeaten.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
They're still unbeaten in the Premier League, aren't they? Ivan Toney got his first goal after I took him out of my fantasy league team, which was
I stuck
superb.
with him for one more week.
I put Lukaku in because I should probably have waited a week, given that Lukaku was coming up against Liverpool. I probably should have waited a week, but yeah. Right, okay, well, it's time for round 3 of the quiz.
Welcome back to Football with Fran. Well, it's 1-1. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Chris, we're coming to you first.
Lovely.
First player is Emil Heskey.
Emil Heskey.
Played for 7 teams. How many can you name? He's counting on his fingers here. How many you can name? We're at 1 so far.
I'll go 4 to start off with.
Oh, you can have that.
Right, Chris, go on then.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
Leicester.
Yeah.
Wigan.
Yeah.
This one's a bit of a shout. I'm going to say Hull.
No.
Ah.
Leicester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Wigan, Aston Villa, Newcastle.
Villa. Fuck.
Wanderers.
I had Liverpool, Wigan, and then I would have guessed Villa. I wouldn't have not got 4.
Well, there you go, Dan. One for you.
Lovely.
Next player, Dan. Ashley Young. He's played for 4 teams.
Four.
Okay.
That's
Yeah. All 4, please.
Yeah, go on then.
United,
Yeah,
Watford,
yeah,
Villa,
yeah.
and Inter Milan.
Smashed it.
God damn it.
I'm
Okay.
just going to go on Google and start getting his forfeit ready.
2-0. Chris. Kevin De
Should have
Bruyne.
waited for the third point.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Played for 5 teams. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
I'll go with 3 to start with.
Oh, I knew you were going to do that.
Daniel.
The 3 is easy.
Yeah.
I've just got to try and think which Belgian team he's played for. Well, I might as well go for 4 because you're going to get the 3. I'll go for 4.
Okay.
Go on,
gonna go for
I'm not
5?
going 5, no.
So it's 5.
Yeah.
Right, so Chelsea,
Yeah.
City,
Yeah.
Wolfsburg,
Yeah.
and what Belgian?
That's lucky.
teams are
I would have failed then.
Oh, really?
I had Werder Bremen. I thought that was the German team.
Oh, bugger. What Belgian team has De Bruyne played for? What letter does it start with?
No, yeah. Come now.
I'm just trying to think what teams.
Right, come on. 5.
I'm going to guess KRC Genk.
Yeah.
Wow.
It just says Genk.
Yeah, that's the
Good
one.
effort, sir. I'll give you that.
Werder
Werder Bremen.
is on here as
Oh,
well.
it was one of
really?
them. So that was the 5th.
Was it a loan?
Yeah, so Fifi went out on loan.
Ah.
Right,
Oh,
well, Dad's
I
won.
mean, fair,
I'm happy with that.
fair play. That's
very much
to be honest, if I was guessing a Belgian club, I would have gone Anderlecht or Club
Yeah, I
Brugge.
knew it was an Anderlecht, and I was trying to think. I thought Club Brugge maybe, and then I just
That's
sort of
a
guessed.
hell of a shout. I'll give you that. You can have the win this week for that one.
Dan, Lukaku played for 6 teams.
Yeah, I could.
Has he?
I want to try and do 6.
I think I can do all 6.
Oh yeah, 6.
Okay, go on then.
Anderlecht,
Yeah.
Chelsea,
Yeah.
United,
Yeah.
West Brom,
Yeah.
Everton,
Yeah.
Inter Milan.
Christ, is your week?
Going for the whitewash.
I'll tell you what, we almost sound like we know what we're talking about this week, don't we?
Chris. Thiago Silva
Got to avoid a whitewash here. Thiago Silva.
played for 8 teams.
Wow.
8, well, okay.
I like to check my maths. Oh, actually, 7. 1 was no appearances.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, blimey. I'll go 3.
All right, set the bar low. Daniel?
To be fair, I don't know. I can only think of 2.
Yeah, the 2 obvious ones,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure he was at one of them for so long. The others must just be loans.
Well, PSG, it feels like he was there forever.
Yeah, I can't really think.
2012 to 2020.
Yeah, so he's there for 8
I
years.
can't
So
really think before PSG. I'll let you have a go.
thanks, mate. Feel like I'm not really participating in this week's quiz. Yeah, PSG and Chelsea, the 2 obvious ones.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a stab. I'm gonna take a stab at Marseille.
No.
My stab would have been Bayern.
No. So I'm not quite sure how to pronounce some of these, but RS Football.
Yeah, that team.
Football.
Football.
Juventud. Porto B. That's who you didn't play.
Fluminense.
AC Milan.
AC Milan. So, cool, that one was tricky. There's a lot of very
Probably wouldn't have got any of them, to be honest.
No, unless we knew AC Milan, we weren't getting any of those other ones. Well, unfortunately, that means it was 5-0.
Oh yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
So 2-1. Dan.
So he takes the lead.
Let's get those tunes
Well,
out.
I feel like you've done very well this week with the way the teams fell this week.
I find it easier. I mean, I've noticed when we were going against the guests, I don't know if it's just because we were crap and we let the guests go first all the time.
We let them win, it's fine.
I always thought it was easier if you go first because you get 3 goes, the other person only gets 2.
Yeah.
So to win that sort of away leg.
Oh, you got so this is like in tennis, you won
I feel
against the
like
serve.
I've won against the serve. Next week I'm serving, so
Oh, well, 2-1.
Well done.
I feel like this is going to be tight.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I have to win. No other option for me but
Mainly
to win.
because you've already got the order in Amazon in the basket.
Yeah, well, I've not opened the box, so I can send it back. It's fine. Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening, everybody. That brings us to the end of this week's show. We will be back next week. Keep an eye out on social media just in case me and Dan decide to do another transfer special show this week. We will only do it if there's like a ton of big transfers. If there's only a couple, we probably won't bother. Yeah. Otherwise, our new episode of LMA Manager will drop on Wednesday or tomorrow by the time you're listening to this. And yeah, otherwise we will see you all next week. Thank you very much for listening.
Bye.
Bye.